Welcome back. My name is Eric, and I'm here with another special guest, Tanis Mielke, who happens to be my son-in-law now, married to Brianna, who I interviewed her tattoos just a little bit ago. That'll be posted shortly. So Tanis, let's learn about your tattoos.
Yeah, where to start? I mean, I've got back, chest, ribs. My first one was the memorial for my dad who passed away when I was young. I was 18, just turned 18. I was in high school and I was living with my foster parents, and I had a couple, that was when tattoos were becoming just not so much taboo, right?
Yeah.
These things were we were seeing them, and you're seeing younger people get them. And me and a bunch of guys on the football team, we wanted to go to Idaho to get these, because some of the guys weren't 18 and they needed parent consent. There's only certain artists that will do it.
Yeah.
So we found a spot over in Idaho, and me and my buddy at the time, Levi, he got a cross and I got this, and it was a cool experience. Obviously the memory of my dad is something that I hold close to me, and so it was definitely a young decision, but I definitely don't regret it. But once I got that one, I got hooked. The people are like, oh, it hurts, and it doesn't hurt. It does, but it was one of those things where it's it's addicting. I really just enjoyed the process of it, and just the way it looked after.
Is your tattoos all done by different artists?
Absolutely, yeah. Different times in my life, different walks in my life, different phases, different people. Only a couple of them are professionally done,
Well, do you have one, obviously you got them all over.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone more painful than the other?
Yeah, absolutely. So my ribs, I have Greek script going down my ribs, starting at the top and going on to part of my stomach. I was in Mexico, actually, funny story. I was in Mexico and we're getting some tattoos. I'm with my foster parents again, and the whole family got matching tattoos. We got the Jesus Christ ambigram, so it says Jesus this way, Christ when you flip it over. Funny story, we were all getting the same matching tattoo, and we hear gunshots outside, and we're like, whoa, and we're in Mexico, so we're like, what the heck's going on? We had this guy with a federale badge come to the door and say, you guys cannot come outside. So we were there for a while, so I decided to get some more tattoos.
Really?
So got that one. I got the Greek script one on my ribs, and I got the one going across my chest too. So I have the one on my ribs, says eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth in ancient Greek going down. And then I have one that goes from collarbone to collarbone. It says, I will not be broken in Greek as well. And then the Jesus Christ anagram.
So obviously you're Greek?
Yeah. Yep. Greek and Italian.
And so tell us your full name. You go by Tanis, but
yeah, Tanis Mielke. Yeah. So Tanis is my full name, yeah. Just shorten it up. First three and last two of my first name.
That's how a lot of Greek names are. I mean, a lot of them are generally long in nature.
Pretty
so
big.
And that's pretty cool. So some of your other tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
you've got your arm, you've got scripture. Yeah. What is you have one that's the most meaningful to you.
Yeah, so I think the one that means the most to me is my knuckles, my hands. A lot of people see it and they're like, it says self-made, but the definition for me was a lot different than a lot of people's that you see. You see that tattoo quite often. Mm-hmm. When I got it, I was in a pretty rough spot in my life. I was battling addiction, homelessness. I was just going through a lot. And my street dad, if you will, he was a tattoo artist. He's the one who kind of inspired me to start tattooing as well as a hobby. I don't do it professionally or anything, but and so that's some of his art is on me because he would just be like, let me practice, right? Mm-hmm. But one day, I was just in a bad spot, and I just had something come to me, and it was like, you don't like where you're at in your life. It's all because of yourself, right? So every situation, every scenario that you are in, it's self-made.
Yeah,
it's all because of you. And at that point, I'd been in and out of jail. just kind of made some bad decisions, and I've been kind of, paying my dues to society for them. And so I decided, I got that one the first time. It didn't stick. Ended up going back to jail, getting them done again for a bag of coffee, and their tattoos are pretty cheap.
So let's go down that road for a minute, because that's something I want to know about.
Yeah.
How in the hell is tattooing being done in prison?
A few different ways.
Because let me just before you go in there, it requires generally a sharp fucking object, right?
Really sharp. Yeah.
So
yeah.
prison and sharp objects generally. Now I haven't been there. I've watched enough TV to know they don't go hand in hand. So how's that work?
So you can use a variety of different things. So the Native Americans in prison have sewing needles, right? And they also have India ink, and it's all part of what they're allowed to have because of their religion, right? They can't say no to that. And so it's just through barter and trade and sale through that. Guitar strings, you're also allowed to have guitars at certain levels in prison. You're allowed to have guitars, and so people will pop off guitar strings and the end of them are really sharp. They use motors, kitchen forks, and they rig them up so you can get like a stereo and pop out the motors from the CD players to be able to run this thing, and they wire them up, and people are very, very resourceful in there. And they're amazing. And this one's from prison as well, and it's better artwork than some of the stuff you see out on the streets. So.
It really is amazing. One, the ingenuity that goes into this.
Yeah. Well, they have.
Half of these guys would spend, and obviously you've realized that now, but half the ingenuity that these guys can figure out in prison, if they did outside of prison, they'd be amazing individuals.
Oh, they'd be entrepreneurs beyond belief. Yeah.
It's just obviously, like you said, addiction, things like that can really fuck things up. And it's no, that's cool. Just because I've wondered how in God's green earth would you get a tattoo inside of prison? I mean, I know Native Americans again, or not. Well, the Native Americans, the Islanders, they'll use like wood, like hammer methods and stuff like that.
Well, there's also stick and poke. So there's, you can get just something really sharp, just a little needle, and you get, a lot of people burn, if you can't get the ink, they burn soot. So you burn stuff, make it into ash, you light it up, and it creates an ink. Yeah. And this is India ink in my hand. So this was I just had my hand on the end of a chair while I had a guy stand point, make sure a guard wasn't coming, and he just got to it. I gave him a bag of coffee, and it was actually, it stuck really well, because that's the third time I've had my knuckles done, and it just didn't stick, because hands fade out really well. Yeah. But these ones stuck pretty good. So
that is just so cool. So then you've got another. I mean.
Yeah, I had, right after high school, right after I got these couple ones, I was one of the very few people in my grade that had tattoos, and I just liked the way it looked. Yeah. And so I started putting stuff on my body that I probably wouldn't put back on my body.
Do you have regrets?
Yeah, I do.
Or regrets?
I do.
I
do, yeah. So I was in a Bob Marley phase of my life, smoking a lot of stuff I shouldn't have been. And so I got a Bob Marley quote on my arm: "The best thing about music, when it hits you, you feel no pain." Surprisingly, this was actually done in a shop, but it looks like crap. So I got that one at the same time as this one. The guy used too small of a needle, or too big of a needle for the size of print, and it went too deep, and it's called a blowout. Yeah. And so it blew out all the script on there. This one says, "If at first you don't succeed, get up and try again. But you failed, that didn't kill you, it's only made you stronger." But those two, I think, if I could take those back, I probably would.
Yeah. Just because of
just the way
the quality.
Yeah, the quality. Yeah, totally. Going, the last few years to, a little bit in the future, going forward at least. It's not going to be as big of a problem because it's less taboo. But
a couple of the people that I'd really like to interview at some point that I'm big fans of. One, Jelly Roll.
Yeah, got some cool ones.
Amazing stories there. And he's obviously covered head to toe. Teddy Swims and Post Malone. Watched the thing on him. Yeah. And it's... You just see that, and obviously in those professions, you can do whatever you want. Totally. These guys aren't saying to counter. Yeah. But you've obviously experienced that, and so that's what I think some of the youth.
I've had some leadership roles in the restaurant industry and food industry where it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. The one that I'm in now, it does matter. I've got to be covered up at work. You can't have a certain amount, but it's a different culture. Also, I work for an Asian culture. And so, a certain size, you got to have it covered up. But the hands, you can't really, you can't wear gloves all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I've had questions about my hands. I went through a little phase where I was trying to get jobs and stuff, and I'd keep my hands under the table. And I'd let them get to know my personality before they saw that and made the judgment call. But I got to a point where I've used it as, because people will be like, "Oh, prison or military, man." That's the comment.
That's been the MO for years.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And so I've just started to use it as, hey, tell me, because I've been asked quite often, hey, you got your hands tattooed, tell me about that. And I'll use it as, hey, that's where I was, paid my dues to society, this is where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Just kind of a turnaround story rather than being ashamed of it. This is my body, man. This is, I can't change it. So
that's, I think, what's cool with the way the tattoo world now is looked at. Obviously, we have many shows on TV,
right.
Blacked and Inked and Masters and all this, but it's focused on the artist, as opposed to the stories that they're creating for individuals, and that's what I hope my content will provide people.
I think it will.
Some explanation of why people do what they do, and again show the artistry. I'd love to talk to artisans that do this, because not only do they do it and there's methods and all that, but they have stories about their stuff that generally isn't talked about. It's always about the process of it and all that, and how their mind thinks. And again, the artwork on so many, that I've seen is Picasso-like. They literally create artwork that is amazing, or writings. Even as blown out as those may be, you can read that and think that somebody took a small device and created letters. I had a friend of mine that I interviewed, Jason, and he's got a signature of John Wayne.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. It truly is. And I think it's awesome. I appreciate you coming and spending a little time. And I hope people will appreciate, more and more people will appreciate people that have tattoos.
Tell more stories the more that I get.
Okay, before we go, more?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I got a lot of canvas left. Yeah. I stopped because of my profession. I stopped because, I was sitting at corporate tables, and it's frowned upon still in that setting. You don't see a whole lot. I was going to do the neck straight away from that. There was a time I was going to do the face. Didn't do that. Glad I didn't do that.
That's probably
I'm going to do, our son. I'm going to do his footprints right here. I'm going to get the initials and birth dates of all of our kids, our wedding date. Her and I are also talking about getting a matching one as well that just her and I share. I want to get, chest done. I want to get my back done. Anything that I can just cover up with a t-shirt, I'm trying to get covered up.
Obviously, you've had different artists, prison life, professionals. How much money do you think? Have you a pretty
probably a couple thousand. A couple thousand. There's been situations, barter and trade, we're in the mix. And then there was some that was just cash. This one was done in a shop. The line work was done in a shop. Definitely overpriced, but that one was like $600.
How long? You sit in a chair for something like that?
About 3 hours. Yeah, about 3 hours. And,
so it's not just the money; it's your time.
It's time. A lot of people, they're charging $150 an hour now to do that, and a lot of people have like a $100 minimum just to poke you, just to do anything. So just to make it worth their time. So probably you're pushing about a couple grand. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well,
some of which I wish I could get back. Some of which is money well spent.
It's it is definitely a story for for each person that does it. They have their stories, and sometimes that in itself is priceless. It's a memory, it's a story, it's a reminder.
I think that's for the most part for me is a lot of mine are reminders. Especially for my kids. I get my kids will ask, what's that, what's this? People will ask, what's that, what's this? And the stuff that we do, ministry and stuff out on the streets as well. I get asked as well, and I get to use it more for a testimony and a hey, this is where I was, this is where I'm going. More of a story.
Non-judge. You're obviously showing that you're not judgmental because you walk and talk
Yeah, absolutely.
the way you live.
Yeah, totally.
Well, that's cool, Tanis. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. So thank you.
Yeah,
And
no,
again,
thanks for
thank
having
you
me.
everyone for watching this. I hope you enjoy it, and
Yeah.
there'll be more to come.